Welcome back. This Nigerian-born entrepreneur literally has a finger on the pulse of the continent. At the age of 36, that's it, he's a baby. He is the brains behind MTV Base and is now the managing director and senior vice president of MTV Networks Africa. Please welcome to Late Night with me, Alex Okosi. Calm down, ladies. Calm down. So, Alex, you went to primary school in a region called Enugu.
Yes.
Is that a province or is it a city?
It's a city called Enugu.
Okay, and you were there until you're about 12, and then you go to the States?
Absolutely. I was there until I was 12, and then my parents were actually going to the U.S. to visit my brothers who lived there, my older brothers.
Okay.
And I made a lot of fuss, and my mom decided to take me because I was mommy's little boy back then.
And then you were like, I ain't leaving.
That's basically what it was.
Culture shock?
It was a little bit of a culture shock. Of course, it was much nicer. You know, my brother was doing real well, so the things that you did once a week, like going to the sports club to go swimming, my brother had a pool, so that was like, ooh, I can do that every day. So,
right.
So those things were kind of like the little things that made it attractive to stay.
Yep.
But more importantly, it was really, you know, at that time, it was the only chance for me to get my quote-unquote U.S. education.
Sure.
So I stayed.
And with MTV Base, I mean, you reach about, what, a good 90 million?
Yeah, about 90 million people have access to our content.
But when you first started, people were like, not another music channel, especially because you had MTV, but you were like, no, that's not quite good enough. What made you know that there was because now subsequently there were also more music stations that have come about?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, when we, 5 years ago when we started MTV Base, it was really about playing a Pan-African music proposition. So, of course, you had other competitors that were in the space, but we really wanted to offer something that encompassed and really catered to all of Africa, so that all of Africa's music can be heard. We felt like we had a good way to do it. We also we didn't want to have it be something that was just on pay TV. We wanted the masses to see it. So we launched it, with a lot of partnership with our terrestrial, blocks across Africa. So in Nigeria, we're not only on DSTV or other pay TV platforms, we're also on the terrestrial stations. We have branded blocks of the channel. So it enables the music to travel further. You
live in many different cities.
Yes.
Okay, from Lagos to New York to Joburg.
Yes.
What defines home for you?
Home is where I can sleep, like actually more than 4 hours. I usually only sleep for 4 hours a night because I have so many things going on in my head.
But don't you feel tired?
I feel tired. The only place I actually get to sleep is when I'm home in my hometown in the eastern part of Nigeria. For some reason, when I'm there, it just kind of, I switch off. I just kind of go to sleep. I can sleep for 8 hours. They normally start knocking on the door because they want to see me asking, is he okay?
Sure. And your son, where does he consider home?
My son lives in Lagos right now, so I get to see him often because I go to Nigeria a lot.
It's very easy to go to Lagos these days, and it's very cheap.
I don't know if it's cheap.
I was very surprised. Well, I fly cattle class, so for me, it's like... So it was quite doable, let me put it that way. I was quite surprised that, oh, my goodness,
No, I think it's great. A lot of Africans are traveling to Nigeria now. I think, before there was this perception that you get to Lagos and it's just so crazy.
Right.
But Lagos is actually one of the more fun places in all of Africa.
Lagos is fantastic. I agree, by the way.
So it's one of those things where I find a lot of South Africans now going to Lagos and wanting to go back and asking me where to hang out. And, so Lagos is definitely a place to see if you haven't been there.
I've traveled a little bit around the continent lately, and I'm noticing that there's almost a return. When people said there was a brain drain before, there's quite a bit of that turning back around where Africans overseas are also said, like, hey, you know what, there's a lot of opportunities. And some of it might have had to do with the recession, where actually life may be rosier on this side if you're coming from that environment. Do you find that to be true at all?
No, absolutely. I think the recession had a lot to do with it. But I also think that Africans overseas are realizing there's a lot of beauty and a lot of good things happening in Africa. For instance, the World Cup in South Africa doing so well and doing a phenomenal job of hosting the World Cup. I have people that actually tell me, I read your story, and this is the reason why I'm coming back. And, that kind of makes you feel good to know that there is a lot of young Africans that are doing great things overseas that are now coming back home to, of course, help to uplift our continent.
But you're 36, right?
Yeah.
That's very young still for what you've accomplished. Do you, first of all, find it difficult to be taken seriously at all? And how far does this dream go for Alex Okosi?
Wow.